Hello, everyone. This is Zami Zerwin from FilmFestivalCircuit.com and the Assistant Director of the Oregon Short Film Festival. We are very excited for our Spring 2023 session, which will be on May 29th at the beautiful, historic Clinton Street Theater. And today I'm talking with one of our participating filmmakers. Adam Perlman is the director of Unworthy. Adam, thank you so much for talking with me today.
Thank you. I'm excited to be doing this.
So Unworthy, it's an extremely unique concept, and you've approached the subject matter in a very unique way. What inspired you to make this film?
So the movie is loosely inspired by the story of John Hinckley Jr., who shot President Ronald Reagan. But what I was interested in was not the shooting, but his time being released from a mental health facility and getting reintegrated into society. And for me, that was an opportunity to talk about something that I've really wanted to focus on for a while, which is this sort of very relatable feeling I think a lot of us have, taken to an extreme here, which is that, I think a lot of us feel like we've done something that is so bad or dark or scary that it makes us unlovable, that it makes us unworthy. And we wonder, how can we come back from that? And, particularly in a moment where we're trying to be more sensitive about mental health, but still we're very much sort of rushing to remove people from the discourse if we feel like they've, stepped wrong in some way. How do we have a space for compassion and redemption, for growth? So I wanted to make a movie that could touch on all of that and sort of take these fears that we have about ourselves and our worst moments and sort of hold them up, right? And let us see how ridiculous they often are. And by being ridiculous, how kind of funny they are. And so to find the humanity and the humor in that.
Totally. I mean, that's very interesting. It seems like there is this deep, relatable, kind of analytical backbone to this film. What you're trying to get at it. I'm curious. So, in this sort of, this question of the potential for redemption, and creating this sort of anecdotal, representation of all of our fears on that matter taken to the extreme. What was that writing process like? What is it like to level something extreme and try and make it presentable and approachable and relatable to the general audience?
Well, I think it's not so much focusing on an act, but on the actor, meaning the person who's done it and what's sort of behind it. And in this case, dealing with someone who had schizophrenia, the fact that they might not have the same meaning at all attached to those actions, and that so many people who do things that we find difficult or incomprehensible, or even so many of the times we look back on things we've done in our lives and it's like, why did I possibly do that? I mean, there's actually a reason that sometimes comes from love, sometimes comes from fear, sometimes comes from deep misunderstanding. But to sort of get inside that, and so that's really what it's about for me, is sort of tracking down those threads, and through that you start to understand their conditions, their preconditions, the set of assumptions and they had that led them there. And so part of unpacking his recovery as well as the events that led him there is also getting a little bit of a window into his home life, his family life, his history. It's just a short, and one of the great things about working in this format is you can only kind of sort of hint at or sketch these things in. They don't have the you don't have the playing space that you do in a feature film.
Right.
So the little mentions you have stand in for a lot. But then again, that's often what we do when we have a first meeting with with a new person in our lives, or with a world historical figure, is we take just those little sketches, those little moments, and we make some pretty big decisions based on them.
I love that. Not only is that a great way to kind of encapsulate the philosophy behind these shorts and short dramatic films, where you do try to get a little bit of this character as much through as you can. It's like a first meeting, uh, and the person you chose to act in this main role is really incredible, and I think really is a strong ally to achieving that kind of vision you have. I'm curious too. The chemistry was so good between all the actors. What was that on-set process like? What was that dynamic?
Yeah, so Kelly O'Coin, who plays the lead role, is just one of the great chameleons of sort of modern prestige TV. And so I'd had a chance to work with him on the TV show Billions, which I was a writer and producer on for a number of years. But Kelly is also he plays Dollar Bill on that show. He's amazing on The Americans, playing Pastor Tim. More recently in We Work and a million other We Crashed rather, a million other shows. And I just knew that this is one of the most versatile actors out there, and he could do any of this stuff. But I also hadn't had a chance to direct him, so that was an interesting one. Where we're starting off with, we had a working relationship and a friendship, but also not quite in these terms. So it was a good way for us to get to know each other better and to
Awesome.
push that and to push like what what he could do and what the material could do. And the other actors in it, Mary Beth Peel, who played his mother, I'd worked with her before a little bit on The Good Wife and in theater, but the two of them had never worked together. And Antonique, who plays the female lead in it, was just somebody whose work I admired and was sort of a friend of a friend. So it was putting together people I had some degree of acquaintance with, ranging from a lot to a little, but who hadn't worked together. And so trying to build really deep relationships for something that's going to be as, sort of transient as a short, you do the best you can. So, we did a virtual table read. I tried to do a couple of phone calls with them to just get into the character work. But then a big thing was on set to really make sure that I was spending the time not with everything but the actors, but really with them, with the performances, and also with a lot of room to play, because the tone of it has these very dramatic elements. It has these very comedic elements. There are moments where you can really play with which side of that you want to be on and how self-aware are the characters of the comedy. And so to sort of play with the tone, I wrote it as well as directed it, and I try to separate those roles a little bit. So when I'm on stage, or on set rather, to really think about being the director with the actors and finding like, okay, it's written this way, and let's get that for the writer, but also what else could we do with it and how else could we play with it, and to sort of like hold the thing, but hold it a little bit loosely, so you do create those options for yourself, and you also follow those little kind of moments of magic. You're like, ooh, I wasn't expecting you to say that way or react that way. Okay, now let me go grab this or grab that to match that. So if we want to create a performance that looks like that later, now we can.
I love that. That is very good insight on not only how to pick your actors and work with them, but that separation between the writing and the directorial role while you're on set is very interesting. Uh, I'm kind of curious if you gained any new insights yourself on the filmmaking process, on directing actors, on producing through this process. Anything that you could share?
Sure. I mean, we had some incredible actors and some incredible locations, and still stuff goes wrong. You lose locations, you have to shuffle schedules. People, this was still made under COVID protocols. People get sick. Things need to be shuffled around. So, yeah, it's how do you figure out really what are your actual priorities? That's a huge one. And another one is how do you sort of insulate the actors and that particular in front of the camera universe from any chaos that might be happening far away. And it's like, no, that's chaos we're going to deal with later. I can't bring it into this moment for me. I can't bring it in for them. This needs to be safe so they can create that. Then chaos for a minute, then back to this.
Right.
And so that's part of it, is figuring out that balance. And I would say another thing is also a certain instinct which you hone, which is knowing when you don't have it. Knowing, and that could be anything from like, oh, I know you think we have this shot. We don't. It was a little shaky. It was a little out of focus. The lighting wasn't right. We don't have it. We didn't get the performance we quite needed. We didn't have we didn't have the prop in the right place, whatever that is. And so I've found almost 100% of the time, if you think you don't have it, you don't. So it doesn't matter if someone's like, you got to go, you got to get off. You like, no, find a way to get the thing. or find a way to know how do I have to get it in somewhere else. And so, just as a small example of it, there was a scene that wound up being completely cut because it didn't quite feel right. And I sort of knew that on the day. And thinking about it the next day, I managed to throw essentially what had been that whole scene into another scene
Oh
because
wow.
I'm like, oh, we need to cover this. I don't think what we have is actually going to work. And like, let's take a couple of extra minutes here to throw it in here. And that's where it wound up being. So, to trust your instincts and also to try to give yourself some more optionality, because especially in a short, you're probably not doing reshoots.
Right. I love that. That's fascinating insight, especially because from so many independent shorts creators, I get over and over again the comment: trust the process, trust the process. You might feel shaky, but trust the process. But we're getting a little bit of pushback here, which is if you feel like something's off, trust your gut, trust yourself. And I love that idea of reworking scenes into other things, making it plausible, working with the budget, working with a time frame. Uh, so tell me, what other projects do you have in the works right now? Anything being written? Anything being directed?
Yeah, a couple of things. Well, one, working on doing a feature version of this. So I've actually written the script and just teamed up with a wonderful producer on that.
Oh,
And
excellent.
so I'm trying to put together funding for that at this moment. And then there's another script I've written also for me to direct, which is based on a true story of a journalist who, in the late '80s, got an assignment to go find Marlon Brando.
Oh,
At the
wow.
time when Brando hadn't made a movie in about 8 years, no one was sure if he was ever going to act again, and he was at this point on his island, in Tahiti, and this journalist who sort of fancied himself kind of a Hunter S. Thompson type, like I don't do celebrity profiles,
Right.
gets this piece and he thinks, okay, fine, I'll go down there and find this pretender and give him a chance to explain what's wrong with him. And as he goes, it becomes also about him realizing what's missing in his life and what he's hoping Brando can explain to him about what's missing in him, what's missing in culture. And of course, if you're going to take a journey to sort of eventually go upriver to find Marlon Brando, there are a lot of those parallels that come into Apocalypse Now. And so
Right.
it more and more sort of devolves the way that movie does until our lead is kind of getting stripped to his
I love that.
essential.
That sounds fantastic. What a good way to frame that. Excellent. Well, I'm excited to see more from you. Unworthy is really fantastic. Is there anything else you'd like to add about Unworthy?
It was a joy to make it with these people. The process of putting together a short is so intense and harried, and the people who do it are doing it not for money, for the love of the project, for the love of the people. And so it's so great to have an opportunity to get in front of an audience and have it sort of be enjoyed on a larger screen in this way. So I'm happy that it's having the festival life that it is. I'm so excited to see it play in Portland. As I was saying, also feeling optimistic about it also having a longer life as a feature as well. So thank you for these opportunities and hopefully more soon.
Excellent. Well, it's been very nice talking to you. I'm so excited to play Unworthy on May 29th at the Oregon Short Film Festival. I think it is going to leave a strong positive impression on the audience. And until then, take care and best of luck.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.